How do I get more streams? How do I get more followers? These are the most common questions that artists ask all the time, but here's the thing. You're asking the wrong questions. The question you should be asking is, how do I make money from my music? Because first of all, that's how you actually have a career in music. You have to be able to support yourself and fund what you're doing. But also because that's the thing that labels and promoters actually care about. And it's what you should care about if you want to get any momentum. What's up guys, Justin here, and in this video, you're gonna learn what you actually need to know about social media and streaming. Stream counts and follower counts are what we call vanity metrics. Sure, it looks cool to your friends when you have 100,000 followers on Instagram, but are you actually making any money? Instagram as a company isn't ever gonna pay you anything ever. Spotify is barely gonna pay you for your streams. That's not how you actually make any money. You have to be able to actually convert those followers and those streams into real fans that are paying you money, as Hakim Draper recently explained in a live session we did a couple weeks ago.
So listen, here's what I want to say about this social media stuff is, I think the first thing, the most important thing is to understand where you sit in the value proposition of these ecosystems. Okay. And so what I mean by that is that Spotify's main directive is called TSL, time spent listening. So if you drive your fan to Spotify to listen to your music, and Spotify is going to do whatever they can, they're going to target and algorithm the hell out of them with any music they can to try and keep them sticky in that system. They don't really care that they came in through your music. So it's very important to understand your position in the equation of the value proposition if you're ever going to understand how you leverage what you're doing against the algorithms and the, sort of broader manipulation that happens with stream farming and things like that. The effect you need is not the same effect that a top tier talent out of a major label needs. In fact, yours is quite different. You need your ratio to be healthy, and the ratio between listeners and streams and listeners and followers. I think the other thing that's important to understand in all of this stuff is that the numbers that everyone is looking for, okay? So we talked about this before, but the major labels say, oh, you need 30 million streams, but they don't actually care about your 30 million streams. They just know if you get to 30 million streams, you're going to have all these other metrics that they can look at, because what they really want to see is conversion rates. So they want to see from the numbers that you have on the surface of your streaming, how many of those people bought a t-shirt from you, bought a sticker from you, bought a ticket from you, purchased something from you. How many of those people have converted to a transaction? That's what the entire industry needs to see. The promoter that you need to help you, he needs to be able to see that you can create conversion. So don't focus on getting the biggest numbers. Focus on getting organic numbers. Focus on finding your people and really figuring out what is the best way to engage and connect with those people. Now, be a little long-winded here sometimes, but here's kind of one of the evolutions that's happening as we speak. There is now a solution to the social media / audience side of this. So right now, in looking at the value proposition of where your value lies in the social media equation, you drive your fans to social media, and then the social media giants monetize and aggregate your fans and your fan data. But you don't actually get to own that relationship, because you have to promote your posts in order to cut through their manipulated noise just to reach your people. So that's not a relationship you currently own. And we're seeing in Web3, we're seeing people start to challenge this whole paradigm. And they're doing it in ways that are creating sustainable revenue, significant revenue, that are allowing them to actually deal with this side of it second. And they're finding their their hardcore fan base, their true connected resonance, this diehard clique of people through this sort of Web3 and NFT stuff that they're doing. And that is creating enough revenue for them to be able to sustain and grow their overall brand. And then they go back and they come back and they deal with the streaming. So this is really where what everybody really wants to know is like, how do you build any kind of momentum on these platforms and what's going on right now? And so there's so much, they're so weighted. And this is again where I really think it's important to understand what your value proposition is in the greater equation of these platforms. And so we'll kind of go one by one. And we can start with Instagram. So again, value proposition for you particularly in that is you're trying to utilize that platform to start to coalesce an audience and build up some fans and some traction and sort of tell your story and communicate it through pictures. The problem is that Instagram doesn't care. Instagram's value proposition in this whole thing is, the more user data that we can aggregate into these categories, the more we can sell advertising and the more we can sell it for. So they don't care how the user got in. They know they have zero incentive to keep the user engaged in your ecosystem. Their incentive is to keep the user engaged, period, on the platform. And so this is why it feels impossible sometimes for people to build momentum. You have to be patient. You need to figure out who you are. What is your creator or creative identity as an artist? What is your message? What is your sort of brand identity, for lack of a better term? So aesthetically, what things, what colors, what are all the things you want associated with you? What are the things that you don't want associated with you? What topics, all of those things. Have an idea of what that looks like for you. Build up an archive of content and then start posting very consistently. Don't make everything a sales pitch about your music. Tell your story. Reveal a little bit of yourself. Share things you like that fit the aesthetic of what the brand and the audience that you're trying to curate around your music and your musical experience. You have to have an identity. Look, your brand identity is, even if you are an individual person, and there's artists that I work with. You want to make a living off of your music. So what you have to understand first and foremost is that would be then your job. So then you and your creativity are the product. You're the brand. You're the whole thing. So yourself is your brand identity. Who you are, what you stand for, what things inspire you. We call it brand identity because it's an industry term, but it's who are you? What is your voice? And what do you have to say that, frankly, you want to be associated with you for the rest of your life? It's not about, and this stuff, a big mistake I see very early on is that independent artists focus most on, hey, look at me, hey, listen to me. Not, hey, this is who I am. Look, you're going to have a range of what you do, just like in real life, you have a range of personality. But at the same time, you have whatever your personal moral compass is that tells you your heart, your whatever to align with or identify or associate with or follow or support or engage with certain things, and you have that same moral compass that tells you, I don't want nothing to do with that because of whatever reasons. All of that is part of your brand identity, your personal identity, of who you are. The mission is, how do you communicate and convey this to people in a meaningful manner? It's not, hey, play my song. Hey, play my song. It's, I've been working on music. It's a passion of mine. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to share it with you. It's, whoa, just saw this dope butterfly flying through my backyard. Such a beautiful sight. Just, it's so delicate, whatever. It's, wow, look at this dope street art graffiti that I just saw. It's, I'm in the studio, I'm working. I can't wait for you guys to hear my music. So it's not a pitch, it's sharing yourself and your commitment and your dedication. And so this is something we talked about in the room. I do this room every day, Monday through Fridays. It's called Music Business Red Pill Sessions. We do it on Clubhouse. But this morning, one of the things I talked about is, and this goes for every artist, you have to do more than say you believe that you're meant to do this. You actually have to believe it. It's so important. If I'm going to believe it or a fan's going to believe it, you have to believe it. And if you believe it, then you have to convey and share that mission in a meaningful, authentic way. Don't follow what other people are doing. Don't look at what other pages. I mean, you can look to other pages and get inspiration or whatever. But for the most part, I will tell you, every artist that I've ever worked with that has had success has done it authentic to them and who they are. And that's understanding aesthetically the types of pictures of them that they wanted to be released, understanding that they didn't want everything to be over polished, understanding that they wanted to be able to share their voice. And so, you know, for some of those people, that's utilizing a lot of Instagram Live and building up a lot of, you know, people who actually hit the bell and follow you because every time you go live on Instagram Live, you are funny as shit, or you're heartfelt, or it's something that's very moving, or something that's socially relevant. It's building up organic stickiness. But the point is that all of these things, they take time. And so you may start today, and it may be a year from now that you start to realize, oh, okay, I'm starting to grow that footprint and grow that audience. And it's doing these things in each of the different unique ecosystems consistently that builds the overall momentum.
All right, just to quickly recap a couple of important things Hakim was saying there. First of all, you need to understand your position in the value proposition for these platforms you want to grow on. Spotify, Instagram, whatever. The reason these are free to use is because your data is being monetized by those platforms. If you're not working to engage your fans, to build your email list, to connect with fans in a meaningful way, you don't own your relationship with your fans. And that's something that will change with Web 3.0, which we cover in much more detail when you watch the full recording of that conversation with Hakim. There's a link to that in the video description, so be sure to check that out. But the important thing to take away from this video and keep in mind is that streams and followers aren't the goal alone if there's no substance to those numbers. In other words, if there's not any authentic engagement, and if you're not creating a real fan base and you're not monetizing your fan base, those numbers don't mean anything, no matter how big they are. In fact, it's far better to have 100 true fans that are actually willing to spend money with you than a million followers that don't spend a dime. Now, building a following on these platforms certainly has value. Getting your music on playlists, and even if you're able to do things to manipulate the algorithms to get more exposure, that's great, but you have to be able to convert that exposure into a fan base and ultimately true fans that will spend money with you because they love what you're doing. I talk a little bit more about that in another video on the channel with a concept I refer to as the KFS Factor, which I'll link to down in the video description. But that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you found it helpful, be sure to leave a comment and give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. And be sure to follow Hakim on Clubhouse. Check out the Music Business Red Pill sessions every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll provide a link in the video description. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, tick the little bell icon to be notified as soon as future videos are live. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.